If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Okay, so I don't think I ever do this, but I was really curious as to what the guy meant in the song, and I will say that I feel like I came pretty close. We're talking about that live song that we just did. Singer Ed Kozlowski said of the song's lyrics, "People think I Alone is a love song, but it really wasn't. The lyrics are more abstract, encompassing a much larger message." He explained the line, "The greatest of teachers won't hesitate to leave you there by yourself, change of fate," by saying that a profound lesson he derived from studying spiritual teachings was that religion and truth must be found for oneself and practiced rather than just accepting the word of others.
Yeah.
So to go with your internal intuition, which is pretty close. Okay.
All right, Bad Religion, Don't Prey on Me is what we have next on our stream.
Don't Prey on Me by Bad Religion.
Yep.
You know, Korn has a song called Pray For Me, which is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And it was because Jonathan met some of Head's Christian friends, and they're like, "Oh, we're praying for you," and so pray.
Oh, I see.
So all right, here we go. Don't Prey on Me, Bad Religion. This is the big homie DJ Metlcat, as you can see right there. Oh, and we were also missing the Metlcat. There's the Metlcat from Metlcat. What does the Metlcat have a name, or is it just Metlcat?
It's Leela.
Leela. Okay. Leela, Vin, Sori, Metlcat, Bad Religion. Let's do this shit. Actually, let's not.
Downloaded?
Let's do this shit. I found it.
Hundreds only seen on my electron, being told a story about human rights. So all the king's horses and all the king's men had a riot for 2 days and nights. Well, the city exploded, but the gates wouldn't open, so the company asked him to quit. Now everybody's equal, just don't measure it. Well, Hanson did it to Hester, and Mark David did it to John, and maybe Jack did it to Marilyn, but he did it to South Vietnam. For beauty and glory, for money, love, and country. Now everybody's doing it, don't do that to me. A bitter debate what you're fucking like.
I agree.
Now I don't know what stopped Jesus Christ from turning every hungry soul into bread. And I don't remember hearing how Moses reacted when the innocent firstborn sons lay dead. Well, I guess God was a lot more demonstrative back when he fled boy and departed to sea. Now everybody's praying, don't pray on me. Said everybody's praying, don't pray on me.
Distortions.
I didn't like that ending there.
Viva Puerto Rico.
Okay,
Puerto Rico. Oh.
Um,
Only a true New York head will know what I just did there. Puerto Rico. Okay, Bad Brains, go.
Okay, so obviously I understood verse 3. Verse 1. I don't know what he's talking about. A grizzly seen on my electron beam. I don't know what electron
That's a
beam
TV.
is. Oh, I was wondering if that's what it was. Told a story about human rights. So all the king's horses and all the king's men had a riot for 2 days and nights. Well, the city exploded, but the gates wouldn't open, so the company asked him to quit. Now everybody's equal. Just don't measure it. I was like, okay.
So everybody's equal now because nobody has a job, I guess? Hanson did it to
Apparently.
Hester. Mark David did it to John. Okay, so that's assassination because Mark David assassinated the big homie John Lennon. Ha! You guys didn't think I knew about that, eh? I did know about it. Shout out to the big homie for educating me on that. Okay. And maybe Jack did it to Maryland, but he did it to South Vietnam.
For beauty and glory, money and love and country. Now everyone's doing it. Don't do that to me.
Verse 1 is about Rodney King. See what I'm saying? He had the LA riots.
Oh. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The company asked him to quit. Everybody's equal, just don't measure it. That's when he did the can't we all just get along? So like we're all equal now. Cause all you have to do is say that you're equal.
Yeah.
And now we're all equal.
Yeah.
I was looking at the reaction on the right relative to the FBI situation with Trump.
Yeah.
How he raided the Mar-a-Lago. They raided his Mar-a-Lago house. He wasn't there. And all these Republicans are, oh my God, this is terrible. Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, Breonna Taylor, they ran up in this short. Actually, no, they didn't run up in her house. They shot her from outside the window. And they didn't care about that at all. Mm-hmm. Not even a little bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're equal. There's no racism in that. It's all good. It's all good. As a matter of fact, somebody attacked the FBI building today.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, in Ohio.
I'm not surprised.
I told you.
I'm surprised there wasn't more than just one person, to be honest.
Oh shit, the guy they killed that dude. I got to do a Middle America on that guy. They killed him. He breached the building, identified as Ricky Schiffer, 42, who had extreme right-wing views. So he initially went in there and was going after them. He shot a nail gun at them and all that shit. And then
a nail gun?
Yeah. And then he escaped. There you go, right there. I knew he was white because he survived that first interaction with the cops. He went into the FBI building, breached the building, shot it. He had a supposedly an AR-15. Anytime these people see a rifle, they call it an AR-15. so you can't, you don't know. But he went in there, shot his nail gun at them, had the AR, and made it out of that situation alive. It was only after a standoff that he ended up dying. I knew he was lying. I was like, "There's no way. If that was a brother, you'd have been at the funeral already."
So confused about the nail gun.
Shout out to the home, because I think he meant it as a. He thought the nail gun would be a better stealth weapon. So
his words. I don't even understand. A nail gun, don't you need a compressor for that?
I mean, I don't know. A lot of these guys think that they're tactical. They think that they're, you know what I'm saying? They think that they're operators or whatever. You know what I mean? They watch too much, DIY anyway. But I mean, it's not the point.
Come on, you're not going to kill somebody with a nail gun.
Obviously, we're in a situation where, so that's going on in the country, and then we've got crazy people with gun violence. It looks to me like, it's gun violence over there. And there's this conspiracy theory that that Jack Kennedy killed the Kennedys had Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Monroe killed because she knew too many secrets or whatever. So that's why he said,
really, Matthew?
Maybe Jack did it to Marilyn, but he did it to South Vietnam. He's not wrong. A nail gun could easily maim. Oh, absolutely, a nail gun could easily maim and kill a person. Absolutely. But he made it out of that altercation alive. It was only 2 hours ago he died in a standoff.
And they have those without a compressor?
So do what you will with that. Okay. So this is real punk because they're dealing with, a political issue. Right? I don't know who stopped Jesus Christ from turning every hungry stone into bread. And I don't remember hearing how Moses reacted when the innocent firstborns lay dead. Well, I guess God's a lot more distraught than big when he parted the sea. So the third verse is him like having obvious problems. Like, for example, if you could turn, that's the temptation of Christ.
Yeah,
if you could turn stones into bread, why wouldn't you do it and just feed all the hungry people in the world, right? And then God is mean because he killed those innocent firstborn kids in Egypt.
Yeah.
Right? Which this is one of the things that gets me when people criticize like religion. It's like, okay, you're taking the fact in the story as true that God killed these kids, but you're not taking into account what that same theology says happened to the souls of those children when God took them, because the children belong to the Lord, as the scripture says, and the kingdom belongs to little children. So it definitely harmed the parents, but especially in that way, it basically says that a spirit came and collected their souls. So on what basis is God duty bound to continue to give these people the gift of children, especially when those children belong to Him? How would it be? Right. How would it be unjust for God to take back something that He gave to you on loan? This is one of the things I never understood. Like, I always think to myself, if I was an atheist, or not even an atheist, just a person who didn't believe in Christian theology or biblical theology, there are so many arguments I wouldn't make that I hear people make, and this would be one of them. Because if the biblical presupposition is that life is on loan to you by God, then on what basis can we demand that from Him as if He owes us that? And I'm not even talking about like your parents, because from a biblical standpoint, your parents don't give you life. Your parents are what God uses to bring you into the world, but your parents aren't the ones that gave you life. So God is the one that authors and sustains your life. On what basis is God duty bound? How can we morally force Him to continue to give us that loan? That makes no sense to me.
Well, I think that, just in a practical sense, like, like when you're driving and you're about to take a parking spot and then somebody like cuts you off, like you were there seconds before them, so it's yours. And then you feel that some injustice has been done to you because somebody took your parking spot. And people will get all extra, fights, crash cars, do all kinds of stuff because that level of frustration because they felt like something that was theirs was taken from them. And that's just a parking spot. You only got that because you got there 3 seconds faster. You know what I mean? So when you have a child and you carry that child in your womb and you raise that child and, then, I think it's just human nature that you would say, well, this is mine, even though the child does belong to God. Like, I think that you have to consciously remind yourself that these children belong to God. Otherwise, they're yours.
Perhaps they see the idea of life being on loan from God as a weird thing they don't see the logic of. Okay, that's fine, but then on what basis are they saying that God killed people in Egypt? Where are you getting that from? Well, you got it from the Bible. Okay, so you take what God says there, but then we're supposed to delete the other side of that, which is that your life is on loan to you from God. I just wouldn't use that as an art. I'm not saying that they're, you know what I'm saying? I don't see how that's a very compelling argument. And of course, he's talking about the whole pro-life, pro-choice thing.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to really deal with that because everybody knows the answer to that question. But what's really fascinating to me about this discussion, though, he says, after vainly discussing her rights, and this is one of those things where, I don't know how to say this, I just don't think people think through the ramifications of what they're saying. The Founding Fathers did not root rights in secular humanism. And the reason for that is because it is impossible from a secular perspective to say that rights are axiomatic or self-evident. That's impossible. So when you have the preamble to the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident. What is the self-evident truth? All men are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights given to them by their Creator. Okay, so from their perspective, rights originated from God, and the logic is obvious. If God is the one that gives you the rights, then human beings cannot take them away. So this idea that all of us are equal and that everybody should be treated equally is not axiomatic or native to human history. It's not. As a matter of fact, an argument can be made, there is yet to be a society that holds the idea consistently that everybody is equal. I've had countless conversations with people that say, yes, the being in the womb is a human being. Yes, the being in the womb is a baby. Yes, it's a human being. But it does not have the right to live on virtue of only being a human being. Because it's usually some sort of ableist argument because it can't take care of itself, which makes no sense. The inability to care for oneself increases society's obligation to care for you. It does not increase their chances of being executed. That's why we have handicapped parking spaces in Walmart. Because what we're saying as a society collectively is that if you are disabled in some way, or if you are dependent or not completely an independent unit, there's something about you that's worth more than simply what you can contribute. That's a powerful idea. That there is something about that disabled person that society benefits from that is not their contribution of resources to the collective. And you cannot get there from a purely secular humanist standpoint. That's why when secular humanists have the helm, you eliminate Down syndrome in Greenland and other countries. When those people get control of the government, innocent people get killed in bunches. Why? Because it is impossible to root this idea that all of us are equal from a secular perspective. It's literally impossible. You are a cosmic accident. You're space dust. You were nothing before you came here, and you'll go into the infinite black after that. And so we're going to make decisions that benefit the most of us, people like me, possible, to the expense and detriment of other people. So that's been the story of human history. So when a secularist talks about rights, I had a conversation with a guy one time. He was a black dude, and he didn't see the irony. He said, I said, so are we killing babies? Yes, we're killing human babies. He said, but we haven't granted them rights. And I said, like 40 years ago, where a certain group of people didn't grant us rights.
What'd he say?
What the fuck oh, that's different. We're actually here. That's what he said to me. He's like, we're actually here. I said, where do you think the babies are when they're gestating? You think they're in Mars or Jupiter? You know, and then he said I was being dishonest, and then he quickly bailed from the conversation. So, like, it's not even an argument about abortion. Ultimately, it's an argument about where did you get this idea that all of us are equal? Where did that come from? You're space dust that somehow booted up consciousness and self-awareness out of the ether. Okay, that's all we are is matter. So how can you say that this collection of matter has certain rights and privileges that other collections of matter should not transgress? It's just...
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's not even about the abortion question. It's just rights in general. How can you take that template and argue against slavery or forced euthanasia or abortion or Gilead, The Handmaid's Tale? Because the argument in Handmaid's Tale was one of utility.
Yep.
They weren't arguing for the moral rightness of what they were doing. They were saying it works. You guys, your birth, and he was right. So if it's just about utility, replicating genes, then you cannot argue against a slave colony of the best genetically modified. You can't argue against that. I mean, there's a lot of problems.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems. People try to root value in consciousness. It's like, we're watching this Sandman show, and this woman was in a coma for over a decade, and she was sexually assaulted while she was in the coma. Is that okay? She's not conscious, and we don't know if she'll ever regain consciousness. So is it okay? You got one being that you can disassemble and poison to death, even though we know that it's going to be conscious in about 2 months. But then you have this other being that's been unconscious for 10 years, but that being has rights and shouldn't be violated. None of these things make sense. So I understand the argument in the song relative to the second verse that I skipped over. It was about abortion, and I think I've demonstrated pretty clearly that this is an obvious human rights issue that we have that we need to repent for, and it's impossible to defend. And I'm not talking about ectopic pregnancies and things like that Planned Parenthood knows are not abortions. I'm talking about the main reason why. But again, it's not just about abortion. It's about things like racism. Why is it that because I have a certain compound called
Can you
melanin.
address that one after? Because I don't know what he's saying.
Why is it that because I have a certain compound called melanin and you have less melanin, why should I treat you as equal to me? On what basis? All of these are unanswerable questions from a secular worldview. It just doesn't make sense to me. Would not God know which kids would be aborted? Seems like a bad poker hand. I don't understand that question.
I didn't either. I thought maybe you would.
Why do you need to protect unborn children then? Can't God protect them? Isn't it on the mother to use her free will, I guess, and decide if she'll sin or not, just like with every sin? Well, sure, Amy, I guess we could carry that also. Well, why stop at birth? Can't she use her free will to strangle her child to death if the child comes out looking in a way she doesn't like it? I mean, I knew this part. This is a true story. God strike me if I'm lying. When we were at the abused women's shelter, there was this lady upstairs that had 2 kids. And one of them, she was absolutely horrible to. And my mom, even though she was in a bad situation herself, she was always ended up being the caretaker. So she started talking to this woman. Well, long story short, her first kid was with her first, serious boyfriend. They broke up or whatever. Her second kid was a product of a sexual assault. And when the kid was born, he looked exactly like the dude that assaulted her. So she always treated that second one worse than the first one. So why don't we just let her, hey, the baby's born. It looks exactly like the bad guy. Let me strangle it to death. That's her free will. Why should we intervene? I want to have a worldview that is consistent all across the board. I want a worldview that...
Oh, that's so sad.
That if you put me in a time machine and sent me to the 1840s in antebellum South, or if you put me in a time machine and made me a German person in the 30s and 40s, I want a worldview that's going to make it impossible for me to go along with Nazis and slave traders. Mm-hmm. And if I ever hear myself arguing like a Nazi and a slave trader, I want to really sit and look in the mirror and say, what the fuck am I saying?
Yeah.
That's very important to me. I want something that I can apply consistently across the board in every scenario relative to human rights especially. And I would commend that to everybody. If you have a worldview that you can't protect yourself from being a Nazi or being a slave trader, then you should probably rethink it. If you have a worldview that goes right in step with people that have eliminated Down syndrome from their country, if you have a worldview that certain organizations the progenitor of those organizations was an avowed eugenist who talked about racial stratification and human weeds, and the fact that the disabled are morbidly fecund, they're morbidly fecund, meaning that they reproduce too much, and that immigrants are reproducing too much. If you're in step with all of those people, rhetorically speaking, you should probably rethink your position. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. I think people should rethink their positions if that's the case. But I understand where these guys are coming from. Like, these are, in my opinion, valid issues for a person in the current Western world currently constructed. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that the moral sort of assumptions that they have came from a distinctly Judeo-Christian worldview, but that they're also are taught a secular humanist mindset, and so they can't tear themselves from those assumptions, and they don't realize that they're contradictory, and that's why when you try to apply it in the real world, it won't work across the board. It's because you're living in two worlds. But I enjoyed the song in the sense that it's challenging. It's a challenging song, and it makes you think. I mean, we just had a pretty deep discussion. Put me in a time machine, send me back to 1492, so I'll be posted up waiting for Columbus's lost ass and send him on his way to Antarctica instead. True, but at the same time, we probably wouldn't all have met each other, so there's that. Bottom line, it has nothing to do with science but religion. No, the bottom line, and you didn't answer my question, Amy, what protects, if I'm using the logic that you were using, why don't we just strangle the baby after it's born? You never answered that question. Science is important to tell us what category of being that we're dealing with, right? So like a spider is an arachnid, a dog is a canine, and a baby is a homo sapien. So that's where science comes in. Philosophy and religion has to tell you that you should not kill that homo sapien, even if that homo sapien is going to be a drain on your resources, because maybe that homo sapien has other things to contribute to humanity other than just resources. Right? Yeah. So if you have a worldview, if you have a scientific worldview that cannot protect children with Down syndrome in Greenland, then I think you should reassess it. That's all I'm saying. Science, religion, and philosophy are different sides of the same pyramid. They all work together, and you cannot have one without the other. The song is a 9.4 for me. I do agree, though, BC. God absolutely stacks the deck. I will not argue with you about that.
8.9.
9.4, I said. Very, very, very good song. Holy smokes!
Interesting, very interesting.
That third song though was the song of the night for me. The one that's on
I Alone.
No, not I Alone.
The song Bottom of the River.
Bottom of the River from Metlcat.
From Delta Ray.
That right there is what I appreciate it. Much love to everybody. If you are politically inclined, I'm about to shoot a Middle America video. We got to update that guy. Rest in peace, by the way. Shout out to Metlcat. At least all 9s across the board from Vin. I was really taken aback by that song. That's the River song. And I'm glad you let us watch it twice. Yeah. That was really, really cool. And I'm glad they didn't block us either. So that's going to be good. That's going to be good.
Don't be too sad that the stream is over. We do have another one tomorrow. DJ Nick is back up tomorrow. So we'll have more good times, probably around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time-ish.
Yes, sirree, Robert. If I don't like how you're raising your kids, can I take them away from you to save them? Well, Amy, I hope you would. I hope if you saw me setting my children on fire ritualistically every night, I set them on fire and then put the fire out so that they could live with third-degree burns for the rest of their life. I hope that you would find some way to stop me from doing that kind of evil to my child. We got a lot of immigrants in this particular area, and some of these people come from places that practice female circumcision. If a dude in the middle of the street decided he was going to circumcise his daughter, I would stop him. there are a bunch of scenarios in which we should stop people from doing things to their children, because their children, Amy, are not their property. Our children are our responsibility. They're not property. We don't get to do with children whatever we want. If there is a guy that decides that he's going to sexually assault his daughter, I'm not going to say, well, that guy's got free will and it's not my business. I'm not going to do that. Like I said, I want a worldview that I can jump into a bunch of time machines with and not be a moral monster. Amy, you know this better than most people. During the times of slavery, you had very nice, well-meaning white people that would say things like, I would never own a slave, but I can't tell another man what to do with his property. And those people really truly believed that they had ingeniously found some moderate middle. Mm-hmm. And they were just as absolutely monstrous and horrific as the plantation owners, because it was that attitude that kept the slave trade thriving. So I don't want an attitude that has already been demonstrated in history to be horrible. No, I'm not the law. I agree with you. But you asked me a question. Amy, if you saw a man about to sexually assault his daughter because that was how he was raised and he thought that that was best for his daughter, are you saying you should sit there and let him do that to his child? Or if you had the means of intervention, would you intervene, or would you let that happen to that child? I don't even think you need to answer that question, because I know the answer to that question. You would absolutely intervene. You're an Edward Snowden supporter. Or actually, you're mad at Edward Snowden for what he did. So please stop with this idea that you just believe in complete freedom for everybody and you believe in leaving people to their own devices. That doesn't work. It's irrational, and you don't believe that. You haven't been able to internally square that circle within yourself, Amy, and you're taking it out on me. This is nothing to do. This has nothing to do with me. This is about you. It's not about me. There's literally hundreds of things that people could possibly do with their children that none of you would have a problem with me intervening about. As a matter of fact, you would have a problem with me not intervening.
Mm-hmm. Or like what Ian said.
No, we're talking, Amy, but not what you're saying really doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense what you're saying. You're saying that I should sit back and let people, murder their children because I'm not the law. What I'm saying is, from what I know of you, you wouldn't apply that principle. Because I'm certain that if you saw a parent doing some crazy shit like that to their kid, I'm certain you would intervene, or you would call me and get me to intervene. You wouldn't sit there and say, well, that's their free will. Mm-hmm. I don't know a lot of these people on here, but I do know you. You wouldn't say that. Yes, there's a 911 for that. What if there wasn't a 911 for that, Amy? What if you lived in a society that said it was okay to do that to 6-year-old girls? Would you say, well, that's society, or would you push for legislation to make it illegal to do that to girls? Would you accept that? Amy, what was it 9/11 for slavery prior to the Civil War, Amy? Could you call 9/11 and stop that from happening? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. What you're saying doesn't make sense. And you know it doesn't make sense. History has demonstrated, especially in the, quote, developed world, that for the last 150 years, we've always had a class of human beings that are not being treated in the same way that other human beings are treated. And history has always told us that it is always the good guys who say we should treat everybody equally. It's always the bad guys that try to find exceptions for why certain human beings shouldn't be treated equally. Show me one scenario in recent memory, Amy, where a group of people said all human beings are not equally valuable, where they turned out ever to be the good guys? One. All I need is one. Because I can name about 10 right now off my head where that turned out horrible. But you provide us, Amy. I will be pro-choice tomorrow. I'll shoot a video. Show me a society where the prevailing zeitgeist said not all human beings are equal. Show me that society that the preceding generation didn't look at as absolute moral monsters. Just one. Just give me one.
What, Amy, when you say this is different, we're talking about abortion and making it unlawful to have the right to decide on something. Not talking ethics or morality, but law. I'm confused at what you mean by that. Are you saying... maybe I'm misunderstanding you. I don't understand people's obsession with law when the laws have been wrong. Like, it's not like laws are flawless and we've never... something's never been legal.
Forced sterilization is still legal in America.
I mean, that's obviously... So the laws don't really mean anything when they allow things that are wrong. Like, that's why there has to be something higher than that.
There's no difference between law and morality, Amy. The only difference between law and morality is a gun. A law is simply morals enforced at gunpoint. That's what a law is. Yes, you are saying that. You are saying that if we get to routinely and systematically abort human babies against their consent, that means they're not as valuable as the person killing them. That by definition is you saying that we're not all equal. You're making an ontological statement.
Yeah, you said I'm talking about your current desire to make abortion illegal.
Abortion is already morally illegal. All I'm trying to do is get our laws to catch up with the moral truth that it's evil, in the same way that abolitionists during slavery were trying to get our laws to catch up with the moral truth that slavery was evil. You don't need to say, I think black people are beneath me. The minute you say you can own black people, you're making a statement about their equality or lack thereof, Amy. So the minute that you say you can kill these children without consent, you're making a value statement about their ontology. So you are saying they're not equal to us. And all I'm saying is, show me the state that had that kind of inequality baked into their jurisprudence that we don't look at as absolutely horrifically evil people. Just give me one. All I'm asking you is one historical example. No, you're trying to make this strange dichotomy between law and morality, which makes absolutely no sense. The only difference between what we call law and morals is a gun. A law is simply morals enforced at gunpoint. That's all a law is, Amy. We have speed limits for moral reasons. It's immoral to be reckless and get into a vehicle that can really truly harm somebody and just end their life and be completely reckless. That's why we have laws against drunk driving and all the rest of it. Morality is the foundation of all law. So you're the one that's playing semantics. I'm not. All I asked you though was for one example of a society that said that a certain class of human beings were not equal, and get me the name of that society that we don't look upon with absolute horror. All I'm asking for is one. I can give you a bunch. Khmer Rouge. Germany, Bosnia, America. Just give me one. If you can't get me one, then you should probably reassess your position and see what side of history you want to be on. Why do you care so much then to make abortion illegal? You went all the way to the Supreme Court for what reason? To make it legal. Because as the scripture says, Amy, the law is for the lawless. People should by definition, as a human being, love other human beings as yourself. And people should have an instinct to protect those who are dependent on us for their survival. So, because we have suppressed that instinct to love each other, that's why we need laws. So that's why I'm about making it illegal. The same reason that there were a lot of white folks in the South that were obsessed with making slavery illegal in all of its forms. They were obsessed with it. You know, there were actual psychologists that would use that as a diagnosable issue, these people who were obsessed. Black people who were obsessed with freedom and white people who were obsessed with freeing them, they actually had it as a mental disorder. So they were saying the same things. It's literally, you guys are using the exact same language. It's unbelievable to me. But again, you could end the entire Vin is pro-life. All you have to do, Amy, is produce me one society that you look upon as good that had a category of people that they did not treat equally. Just give me one. That's all I asked you for, was one. Pro-choice people are equal to Nazis. What do you mean by equal to Nazis? Amy, I've said this a million times. I believe in the doctrine of original sin. You think that I think that there's a difference between my 3-year-old and Hitler? There's no difference between my 3-year-old and Hitler other than grace and opportunity. It looks to me that my 3-year-old has more grace than Hitler had and has less of an opportunity. But don't get it twisted. Nazis are not a special kind of Homo sapien, Amy. Nazis were regular people. And if you went to a person in Germany who just saw their neighbor get carted off to Bergen-Belsen or Auschwitz, and you asked them if they were a good person, they tell you, of course I'm a good person. Where do you think Nazis came from? Where do you think the slave owners came from? You think they came from a different planet? Yes. Yes, Amy. Yes, everybody who supports the killing of a certain class of human beings has no ideological difference from that and Nazis. And the same philosophies, I don't know if you understood this, but Nazis came over here to talk in the 20s. They came over here. So the eugenic practice of abortion in certain countries in the Western world where you have eliminated Down syndrome, that is a Nazi practice where you eliminate, how many people, if you showed up in Auschwitz, Amy, and you had Down syndrome, where would they put you? This idea that we're somehow a better version of Homo sapien than those people in Germany is mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me. Yeah. We're not better than those people. Americans know that we went into Iraq illegally. Americans know we massacred a whole bunch of innocent civilians over there. We know that there's people in sweatshops and shit making our chocolate and all this type of shit, and we go on completely undisturbed. But that God forbid that there's $5 in gas. You think we're better than You think we're better than Nazis? This is madness to me, that people think that Nazis are some different kind of person. Mm-hmm. No. No, Amy. All of us are Nazis. You're not getting the point. All of us are Nazis, Amy. Nazis are human beings. That's all they are. And you know that I'm telling you the truth. That's why you won't answer the question. But you won't answer the question, Amy. I asked you a very simple question. I said, get me one society that you look upon as commendable and replicable, that had a class of human beings that they considered less valuable than the dominant society. Give me one, and I'll be pro-choice tomorrow. If you can't give me one, and I've been asking you for 20 minutes, you haven't even attempted to answer. If you can't give me one, all I'm saying is perhaps you should rethink your position. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Of course, I'm not getting the point. I'm a dumb serial baby killer. I never said that you were dumb, and I don't believe that you're a serial baby killer. What I'm asking you to do is challenge your presuppositions and justify your logic. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. You're using all of this, exercise language to escape the point. Exactly. Oh, I can't because I don't believe that society exists. Now who's playing semantical games, Amy? You know what I'm asking you. I'm asking you to name me a group of people who had another group of people that they considered less valuable than them and point to that society as commendable. Or point to that collection of human consciousnesses as commendable. You're not answering the question because the reason is because of the word society. You don't believe society exists. All right. Guys, I'm gonna be on Middle America, and look, Amy and I have a joust about this once a month. Okay, so Amy and I are good. We're good friends. Sometimes she gets in a mood, sometimes I get in a mood, and you guys are lucky. You're lucky to witness this. But I'm gonna be on Middle America covering this shooting of this guy because unfortunately. It wasn't enough that he made the political statement that he was going to go to the FBI building to fight for the Führer, but he had to continue that. Okay. Much love to all you beautiful people. Yeah, it does remind me of the days of Lilo for sure. For sure. I do remember that. Johnny Melancholy in the house. Good to see you, Johnny Melancholy. I love cornbread too. I wish I had some on me actually today. That would be badass. Much love to everybody. Peace to the gods. I'm going to be on the other side of the situation. Vin out.
Sorry.